Welcome back with our main topic today. The Kharga Oasis was announced as the first environment-friendly town in New Valley Governorate. Minister of Environment, Dr. Yasmin Fouad, announced that Al Kharga is the first environment-friendly town in New Valley Governorate. Fouad made the announcement during her tour in Al Kharga town, where she was accompanied by the New Valley Governor and also a delegation from Al Azhar and a number of government officials. The minister started her tour with a visit to June 30th Park, the most recently established entertainment and cultural park in Egypt, which also stretches over 9 acres with green landscapes, playgrounds, swimming pools, cycling lanes and mosque. While to shed more light on choosing the Kharga Oasis to be environment-friendly town, we have the pleasure to have this phono with our dear guest, Mr. Sayed Ali Taha, the tourism expert. Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Well, sir, could you give us your insight concerning the importance of choosing Al Kharga Oasis to be environment-friendly? What are the qualifications needed for a town to be announced as an environment-friendly?
Kharga Oasis been used for a long time as a very, very virgin place. Kharga Oasis is one of the most beautiful places in the world. I am not exaggerating if I say that, especially at sunset. Everything you see at this green island in the middle of a yellow ocean of sand, it's very, very natural place. You can sleep there. We used to get tourists there, and they pass the night there in like a tent, and they are sleeping, watching the stars. The sky is very, very clear there, and it is a very important place, especially when you cross the desert and you are surrounded by sand, and suddenly you find this green point in the desert. Kharga Oasis it's about 550 kilometers to the south of Cairo. This is the west side of the river Nile, and it is a very important place since the Pharaoh's time. Let's say this oasis being used as a center during that struggle had been passed by the Egyptian and the Hyksos people, but it been known before during the Middle Kingdom about 1900 BCE. Also, it became very important during the New Kingdom and later on through the history. And we can tell that through the different historical sites that we can see in Kharga Oasis nowadays. That's why Kharga is very, very important nowadays because it is a historical site and at the same time represent something like a natural desert in the center of a natural oasis, in the center of the desert. So it became like, a point during the different caravans being sent from Egypt to further South Africa or vice versa from Africa to Egypt. And this commercial relation between Egypt and Africa became so important through the history since the beginning of the ancient Egyptian history.
Yes. So, sir, you've just mentioned or went through the historical importance of the Kharga Oasis. So could you give us an idea about the ancient sites or the monuments that are the Kharga Oasis encompasses?
We will start with the highlight of these historical sites, the famous temple of Hebes. This temple located approximately 1 kilometer to the north of Kharga.
Yes.
The temple is very, very important as it is represent different stages of the ancient Egyptian history. Let's say from the Pharaoh's time, we can find some ruins in this temple. From the Persian time, we know that Egypt had been occupied by the Persian two times during what we call it the 27th dynasty, and also later on with the end of the ancient Egyptian history. Some historians, they add the dynasty 31 before the coming of Alexander the Great to Egypt.
Yes.
Also during the Ptolemaic time, this time of this era followed Alexander the Great. We call it like this because all the rulers had the title Ptolemy. From the first up to 14 kings, they had the same title, Ptolemy first up to Ptolemy 14. Also during the Roman era as well. And became so famous as well during the Christian era. As we know, different sites there, like that site of Bagawat, became so famous because of that cemetery dated back to the about 600, 700 ED. We have a very nice tomb talking about the journey of the Exodus, and also there is a nice church there. And that tomb, that they call it a piece, contains reliefs of Jacob and Virgin Mary, some bull and some tekla, or takla, as they call it in Arabic language. There are other tombs there in a place called Bagawat. Also nearby Kharga, we have a Ghuwaita temple, or they call it, the local people, they call it the Qasr al-Ghuwaita, or the fortress of the deep springs. Ghuwaita in Arabic language means a deep place or a shaft under ground. It's about 25 kilometers to the south of Kharga. The temple, with that other temple that I have mentioned, Hebes temple, very, very important, especially these temples being related with a nice story mentioned by Herodotus. He mentioned when Cambyses, the Persian emperor, came to Egypt and he wanted to destroy the oracle temple in Siwa. He stopped there, and we know that his army had been vanished in the desert, especially when we know there is a place of quicksand between the Egyptian and Libyan borders. Maybe Cambyses' army had been lost in this place. Also, another thing related with Kharga, we have a nice dagger being found in the tomb of King Tutankhamun. It's a kind of meteorite iron, a metal. Maybe this metal came from the space, and there are a lot of debating about this type of metal. That metal being found in Kharga oasis, and we still have some ruins up till now. You can find from time to time some small ruins and some small pieces of this kind of metal. You can see it in the oasis of Kharga as well. So this is something nice or something legendary stories related with oasis as well. Also nearby Kharga, there is another temple. Nowadays, the local people, they call it Qasr el-Zayyan. And this temple about 5 kilometers to the south of Ghuwaita, means about 30 kilometers to the south of Kharga, the main city. The temple constructed during the Ptolemaic time, enlarged during the period of the Roman Emperor Pius in the 2nd century AD. Also, there is another temple called the Temple of Douche and the Oasis of Paris. This is an oasis, they call it like this, but with short B, not with Paris in Europe. It's very different. This oasis is very, very important as well. And the importance of Kharga, you can see this importance during the history. So of those things that you can see nowadays displayed in the museum of Kharga, we have a lot of artifacts and a lot of ruins being found there during the different excavation done, especially that excavation done by one of the most renowned historians and archaeologists, Dr. Ahmad Fakhri. There is a book written during the 17th of the last century about this oasis by that famous archaeologist and the famous historian, is an Egyptian one, and considered as one of the pioneers and one of the founders of that Egyptology science here in Egypt. Ahmad Fakhri, Professor Ahmad Fakhri.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Sir, why is the Kharga Oasis very famous, and what makes it very unique in comparison to other oases?
Not only the Kharga Oasis to be exactly, there are some other oases are so famous, especially the place, what we call it, the Nile Valley. You know, the Nile Valley, the New Valley, it's a very important place, especially when you are talking about what we call it safari tour. Especially those places that we call it the White Desert and the Red Desert. We call it due to the different colors of the sand. So White Desert because of the sand is very, very white, and the Red Desert because of the sand is a bit reddish color. This importance became especially when some adventurer started this type of tour, what we call it the safari tour, and with the passing of time became very, very frequent and very fashionable between the different tourists. So nowadays we do these programs up till now, especially in winter time, because in summertime it's a bit hot. As you know, the desertic climate or the desertic weather, it's a bit hot during the day and a bit cooler during the night. So this is the importance of Kharga with the passing of time. And not only Kharga, as I told you, there are a lot of other oases so famous in this field, especially what we call it the safari tour.
Yes, Mr. Taha, also could you give us an idea about the new projects that have been implemented or established in Kharga Oasis?
In general, all these oases, starting from Siwa in the north up to Kharga further to the south, including Siwa, including Dakhla, including Farafra, Kharga, Paris, Balat, Mout. All these different names mentioned, there are some residents of the Bedouin people or those people who inhabited there for a long time. And the main products of this oasis, the palm dates or the dates that's so famous even between not only the Egyptian nowadays, there are some of projects for exportation of these dates, and it's very, very common and very known in the whole world. Also, the olives trees is very, very important as well. And nowadays, there are some artisans work going on, also the Oasis is so famous with these artifacts and these artisans work from time to time. You can see different exhibitions that they do these exhibitions to show or display the different artisans' work done in the Oasis and in different places nearby. Also, the government started to do some new projects in this area, and these new projects regarding the what we call it, the progress and the development in this area. Like what was done recently, the inauguration of this new residence. That means they are expecting a lot of tourists that they are going to visit the area. We need to establish an airport nearby the area. There is one in Asyut about 230 kilometers further southwest to the Oasis. And that maybe will increase the numbers of the tourists that they are going to visit the area and will help in the transportation. Also, the paving of the new roads and the new projects around the area will help a lot to communicate the Oasis with the Nile Valley. There are a lot of different projects going on nowadays, paving new roads and new methods to facilitate the communication of the area with the Nile Valley.
Yes, I thank you very much for your time. Thank you for your valuable information, Mr. Ali Taha, Sayyid Ali Taha, the tourism expert. Thank you very much for joining us over the phone, sir. Well, thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, for following me in this segment. My name is Amal Mukhtar. I leave you with the rest of the segments of The Breakfast Show.